to the Future's Edge. I am Jim Iuorio. That's Bob Iaccino. Today we're going to concentrate back on markets. Last week we did that episode on health with Dr. Philip Olavio. That was his name, right, Bobby? Yeah.
Ovadia.
Ovadia. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
Please also join us at unfilteredinvestor.com. We take all these things we talk about here and we break them down into a more granular focus and actionable trades. Bobby and Mike Arnold have been absolutely on fire. Also, thank you to our sponsor, Independence Arc Farms. On this show, we always talk about health and how meat is the answer to a lot of our health problems. And so is these huge conglomerates that control our food source. Please subscribe to small independent farms like Marco at Independence Arc. Bobby, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Is that echo coming from you or from me?
It's not from me. Well, it could be from me. I don't know. I screwed up everything today, so it's
When the
possible.
echo cancellation thing, is it supposed to be purple or not? Like I see echo
It's supposed to be to
cancellation.
the right. See
Oh,
that
it's-
little button?
Yeah, it is to the right. Okay.
So's
we're
mine.
good.
I'll
Okay.
get rid of. I'll turn my. That's okay. You can't do it once.
No,
the
now
show
you're not
starts, so.
echoing. I think we fixed it. By the way, for you guys watching, the funniest thing is old guys like us and the technology before a show, because we're all like, going, what do I hit? What do I hit? Okay, Bobby, you don't wear reading glasses yet, or at least you pretend not to, right?
I pretend not to. Mine are the ones I don't wear are right here.
My wife refuses to like buy her own pair of reading glasses, so she sneaks mine away. So I don't know who she's trying to fool, herself, me, the world. I don't know. I don't get it.
That makes me really happy because I actually bought. So the only sunglasses I wear are aviators because I'm a big fan of Joe Biden.
Okay.
And that last part was a joke. But I bought bifocal aviators that are like pitch black because we eat outside a lot here in Florida. So a lot of times I'm looking at a menu and outside or inside, I can't read menus anymore.
Right.
So when we're outside, I always pick outside, even if it was 120 degrees. So I could put on my aviator bifocals and sit there. And then when the menu comes, I can kind of do this and look through the bifocals and read the menu. So it's a great hack for us old guys that are still trying to look cool, which we are not.
Which we are not. Yeah, I tried. I was on a college campus over the weekend, went down to Champaign for that football game, and just old people are irrelevant. You know what I mean? My wife and I walk into a bar, and the bartenders, like nobody even notices we're there. We're just completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
which I think
you're
is
like a
fun.
piece of furniture.
Exactly.
So
yes.
you know what I did this weekend that you might find really interesting before we get into markets?
Mhm.
I went to, there's a guy down here in Naples named John. He introduced me to another guy here in Naples, Florida named John. And John is part of a podcast group, and the podcast is called Cyberpunked. So it's Cyberpunk apostrophe D. They're on Apple Podcasts for sure. They might be on YouTube as well. And I'm going to end up going on that show.
Really?
But what they also did is they had a little bit of what they called a freedom dinner yesterday. And my wife and I went, and Dr. Sean Baker was there. So I got to meet him. He is a giant of a man, figuratively and literally. I mean, just a great guy, just exactly as you'd imagine him, just kind of aw shucks, great guy, right? But here's the thing I thought that you would find interesting. The dinner was at a private residence that has, he's trying to establish something called the Domes. And in its big piece of land down here in Southwest Florida, and he's got 3 domes back there. And 2 of them have in-ground cold plunge tanks. And the third one is sauna. And he has a protocol that he's developing. Really, really super smart guy, bought and sold, or I'm sorry, started and sold several businesses already. A little bit older than you and me, I believe. And he's using it for addiction patients right now. People who are trying to kick addictions, mostly drug, but also alcohol, cigarettes, the like. He has a protocol that is focused on cold, then hot, cold, then hot. Plunges into the water and then going directly into the steam. I don't know what it is. Right now, he's a donation only business.
Right.
Because he's doing it on his private land. And obviously, he's not an official business. And I know there's a way to do it. I'm going to find the link and I'm going to give people the
Please
link.
do.
If you're down here in Florida, you can actually go down there, donate, and use his facilities and try it out. I'm going to try it out, Jimmy, and I'll come back to you. And I'm guessing with how much you're into cold plunge, it's going to become a regular thing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what the thesis is regarding addiction, dopamine, just mental balance is the vagus nerve thing. You know what I mean? It's like a vagus nerve reset. Have you ever heard of that or no?
I have. So
Yes.
it's the Dome Wellness property. I'm just gonna pull. Well, I can't really pull this up because it's Google Maps, but I can pull up a picture of it if you want.
Yeah, I do want it.
Um,
By the way,
yeah,
we
let me
are going to
just
get to
kind of.
market to people, and it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be money making, and you guys are going to be happy.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm gonna pull this up. It takes
No,
me a minute because I just want to save the picture, and I don't want it to be, the guy's address or anything. But you'd need to go to the website. Let me blow this up a little bit, and now I'm gonna put it up on the screen like a fancy person. Hold on a second.
if you had glasses on the end of your nose, it would be way better.
I wish I did. Let's see. Share screen. Tell me when you can see it. I
Marriage.
think it's here. Here it is. So this is what it looks like. And again, it's a private residence.
Okay, that's cool.
So that first one to the right is a multi-person cold plunge. Then the one in the middle is a single person. They're all in ground. We went in, he showed us, we went in, we touched the water, it was ice cold. And then this dome to the left is a sauna.
Right.
And
That's amazing.
I wonder, can I expand this? I can make this a little bit bigger. Anyway, you get the idea. It was
Yeah, sure.
really, really cool. And it has a protocol for addiction that he's having great early success with. So
Oh,
anyway,
by
I
the
just want
way,
to tell you about that because it's kind of your
yeah.
thing.
And before then, we'll get to markets real quick too. But I teased the show that we were thought I was having today because I got confused about Brian Sanders with foodlies.org. Did you see the woman, Christina Cook, that I was corresponding with on Twitter, who had
I
an
did
eight-year
not.
old girl who had behavioral problems, ADD, bipolar disorder, diagnosed with all these things, switched her to a keto diet, boom, all went away.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the anecdotal success, and I'm only calling it that to actually
Because
ease into it. It's actually to me factual. It's
I
not even
agree with that too.
anecdotal.
Yeah.
I've seen people in my own personal life. It's worked for me. It's worked for you.
Oh God,
Anyway,
life changing. Okay,
our
markets.
friend,
I hear people are trading these days. These kids these
yeah,
days, and they're
I wanted
trading.
to put something else up real quick because I know you'll
Let's do it.
probably ask for some charts as we get into this. But our friend Mike Singleton at Invictus, right? He's put this up in a couple of his last two or three notes, okay, about a positive September and what it means. Okay. So this is in the instance. So this is obviously seasonality here. And you can see September is the worst month, right?
Right.
On average, down 0.75%. Here, forward returns for the S&P when September is positive. Forward 3 months, 5% average return. T-stat of 2, if anybody knows statistics, a T-stat of 2 or more is significant. A T-stat of 1 is something you should take seriously. If it's anywhere below 1, it's not that significant. 3 months, 5%, 79% win rate.
Okay.
6 month average forward return, 6.9%. That's per month, by the way.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's over the quarter.
Yeah.
67% win rate. Forward 12-month, 10%. It's not really statistically significant, but still 74% of the time. So I
Well,
ask you,
I know. I mean, just think about the ramifications and the implications of that. What it's saying is that in September, for whatever reason, seasonality is a headwind. If
yep,
whatever tailwinds are strong enough to overcome that in September, they are likely to stick around going beyond that. And again,
yeah.
I don't even know what it is from a fundamental standpoint, the headwind that makes September the worst month, but I don't care. Keep in mind, it's just important to know that it's generally a weak month. I bought puts.
Well, I like that I don't care thing because a lot of times people will be like, well, it's because of back to school or vacations are ending and people are starting slow or whatever it is. I don't know that there's any factual relationship that anybody can point to as to why September is bad, except maybe people getting out before October, which goes back to the crash in what was that, 27?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that could be part of it. But again,
but you
what
look
is
look at
going
October.
yeah, exactly. Look at October, right? Yeah. But I gave a speech at a trade station event last week, and I talked about our technical analysis, what we do at Path Trading Partners and at the Unfiltered Investor. And I asked the moderator, please ask me why those moving averages. And he goes, okay. And he goes, why those moving averages? Because they work. They've been tested. They've been back tested and back tested.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It is so funny. Like you can understand the way the game is played and just be able to analyze it, or you can win the game. You make your choice. I just rather have the latter. and have a little bit of dough. You?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because Mike Arnold actually tuned me into that, and he told me about the hierarchy of questions for traders and active investors, and why is the weakest one. It
Yeah,
is the weakest question for someone who is actively trading or investing, because stuff is happening and you're sitting there going, why is it happening?
yeah,
It should be what and how. Like, what am I supposed to do? And how do I implement that next step in my process in the actual markets, whether it's covering, buying more puts, whether it's covering a certain amount, moving your stop higher, whatever it is for your own process. Why is the weakest question? What is the strongest question? What's happening and what do I do about it?
exactly. And again, don't if you guys are thinking about unfiltered investor, if you think about going to it, and by the way, are we offering the month free yet or no?
Not yet, but
Not yet.
it might
Soon
be
we will
active. I
be.
don't know, but
Soon we
it's
will be.
coming.
And you will understand the process. It takes a little bit, but it's not just about trading and it's not just about real active investing. It's also about portfolio construction too. And I use it in my investment, my long-term investment portfolio, the same technical strategy that I
Yep.
use in my 2-week trading now. So anyway, so the stocks, looking just at the chart, you just gave the statistic that generally speaking, there's positivity after a positive September. The chart to me looks relatively good. Eight still above the 21, both still above the 50 and the 200, obviously. And it looked like it was breaking out a little bit of a wedge now. What do you think? First of all, let's talk about it fundamentally. And then if you want to put the chart up, I'd love that as well.
What do you want? You want NASDAQ? You want
Let's go
S&P?
with
What do you want?
S&P just because it's more broad at first.
All right, good. Let me put that up. And then I will tell you what I think of this anyway.
Sure.
Hang on a second. I'm so good at this screen share. It's just
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable.
It's
All right.
amazing what you can do.
So before anybody looks at this is the S&P futures for me. Okay. Now, one of the things that I see here, okay, is that this rotation zone, which is, you just talked about this at Trade Station, right?
Mhm.
We got, by the way, the 21 is the blue. This orangey color is the 8. These are exponential moving averages. They crossed all the way down here,
It's kind of like
right?
a burnt orange. It's not really a bright orange.
Yeah, it's okay, fine. Brown, whatever. It's the color of my 1972 Buick Electra that I had. Um, so they crossed up here, and we don't trade crosses, right? And actually, when they crossed higher, we were still below the 50 and well below the 200. So there was really nothing longer term to do. You could take some shorter term long trades there. But really longer term, you had to get above the 50, which is the green one. And you had to get above the 200, which is the red one, which was the color of my 911 when I had it, which
Fantastic.
my ex-wife made me sell because it was a stick shift and she couldn't drive it. So I'm still mad about that. Um, so when you look at it from here, we've had several pullbacks into that rotation zone. And also down here, you had a pullback to the 200 that held pretty strongly, right?
Mhm.
This bull market, so to speak, is still in place. And we got another one of these recent pullbacks into the rotation zone and move back up. But it is flattening. If I were to draw, it's hard to draw them here because I got everything marked to the points. But essentially, if I drew, the steep line would be here, and then a second one would be here. These are not trend lines, by the way. I'm just sort of making an example by drawing lines. Okay. Then you got another one here, and then you got another one here. What I'm trying to display here is the trend is kind of flattening out, right?
Yeah.
It's not as steep as it was. And that's a natural progression in a bull market to me,
Of
right?
course.
You get, it's just an absolute blow off breakout. Then you get kind of a grind. Then you get kind of a flattening as people get less and less sort of, what's the word? Convinced. This also forms GAN fans, by the way, but we're not even going to go into what GAN fans do. When I'm looking at the seasonality of this, the seasonal weakness that everybody points to as September ends at options expiration in October. Do you
So
know
about two
offhand
weeks
when
in,
that is,
right?
Jimmy?
About two
Generally, you
weeks in.
look at it historically, it's about October 12th to the
That
15th.
that's what I would have guessed. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in that range. That's when the seasonal weakness tends to end. Okay. So from that perspective, I think being cautious for long positions now is not the worst idea. So what do we have fundamentally going on in your view? If you're looking at weakness possibly still extending into the middle of October.
Well, so the PCE number, The PCE number was too hot in my mind, but it's not too hot in the chairman's mind, apparently. I've been arguing for a while that they claim that they want 2% inflation, but they really don't. They want 2.7, 2.8%, and the core PCE was right around that mark. I think that stock market, it is so incomplete to say that stock markets like low rates. Stock markets like low rates if they feel that they're lower than the actual economic condition would dictate, which probably is the case right now, considering we saw a pretty good GDP number. We've seen some other decent numbers. Retail sales is weird. It's not, I don't think it's adjusted properly for inflation, and it's not counting in the notion that 10% of the people are driving 50% of the consumption right now. But so at the end of the day, here's what I think Jerome Powell thinks. I think he thinks he can ease right now because I believe he thinks that in 2026, AI will increase productivity. Supply side solutions from Donald Trump's potentially getting rid of lowering corporate taxes and getting rid of some onerous regulation, and those things will work to be a headwind for longer term inflation. I think that Jerome Powell is right. I do think they will be a headwind for longer term inflation. And by the way, if you guys know how I feel about Jerome Powell, me saying he's right means I probably need to take a hot, scrubby shower after this because I don't think he's been right about a lot of things. I think
I
his
just want
scrub.
to throw out
Uh-huh.
a comment from our buddy Widge. Widge put out on Twitter just below the posting of our show. Years ago, I remember Art Cashin saying that seasonality goes back to the timing of seasonal harvests. So it's like crazy talk when you start to look at why, right?
Yeah.
Why something, why some seasonality works, why
r-
it figures into anything you're doing, right?
Right. And we can say that's really fascinating to me, but it's not tradable. It's not what we're talking
No,
about, right?
no. And we've said that before. I mean, seasonality is not a trading strategy. You know who uses a lot of seasonality is Carly Garner, who's been on our shows.
Mhm.
But even she says it's something you should be aware of. It's not something that should be your trading strategy.
But also talking about seasonality in corn and nat gas and crude and gasoline, that makes more sense to me how why it would exist because of when we're going to jump the driving season, when is it going to rain, things like that. So, but in stocks, it doesn't seem to make as much sense.
So it's funny. I just put up a QQQ chart, right? And you see that red dashed line. Whenever you see a red dashed line on my chart, it usually indicates a stop level, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't in this particular case because I'm sure I have Qs in my retirement funds somewhere,
Mhm.
but I don't have Qs as an active investment. I don't have it as a trade. Um, so I think what I was looking for there is I don't remember to be honest. I was looking for a buy signal on a breakout that I didn't quite get. And it was probably, again, I'm guessing here because I don't remember why I have it, but it was probably on this breakout here looking for a pullback. I didn't consider this to be a pullback because it closed up so high. I didn't end up putting on the trade. What we have here now is the potential for a head and shoulders reversal. Now, again, looking at September to mid-October being weak, and the way that I would look at that here is I would draw the neckline here, and I would wait for a break of the neckline. Okay. That if that doesn't happen in the next couple of sessions, it's unlikely to happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but it's unlikely to happen because how often have we seen equity markets just kind of sit and go sideways? Maybe here,
Yeah. I mean,
I
it
don't know,
happens.
maybe back here.
Yeah.
You just don't see it that often, especially not what we're doing. So for people who don't know, if we were to get a break of the neckline, let's say we got it right about here, okay,
Yeah.
the target would be about 2.67% down from the neckline, which still brings me to where I would draw the next place to possibly buy if it broke that red line, which should be right about here.
Okay, that makes sense. Can I ask you a quick question though?
Please.
Based on what I know about your rotation zone, the last of these last three candles. So two candles ago, we went into the rotation zone, and then yesterday's candle, we came out. Wouldn't that be normally a place where you'd buy, or is the slope of the 8-day moving average too flat?
No, so you'd be right. And I'm just looking at this. I haven't looked at this. Okay. And this is something that what I would normally do is in equities, you're looking at about, especially the indexes, you're looking at about 5 pullbacks into the rotation zone before it starts to get weaker. It
Okay.
starts to become a weaker indicator of a trade, right? So if we go, and by the way, let's eliminate trading below the 200 here. So I would count this as one, I'd count this as two, this is three, This is actually a break. So I don't even trade that, although believe it or not, I did trade that. And then this is 4, but then it starts to flatten out. So in this area here, I no longer have a rotation zone. If you remember, Jimmy, Mike's told us this a million times, the rotation zone has to be angled up and widening apart,
Right.
right? It can't just be that the 8 is above the 21 or the 21 is above the 8, as we had in here, right? It's got to be widening out. So you see for shorts, here it is right here. And by the way, for those of you that don't trade futures, I put the Qs up for this as opposed to the NQ. Okay. So looking at this, yeah, this is a pullback, right? But the
Yep.
rotation zone is just forming. This could have been one buy up here. This one should have been another one. Now, the way that I would have played that is I would have drawn this best fit trend line, which would have gone right about there. And then this close would have been a long for me.
Okay.
I'm not in it.
Right.
Full disclosure.
Because what the
Just
line you
wasn't
drew
looking at it.
is like a traditional kind of bull pennant that it was breaking out
Yeah.
of, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could call this a flag, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
whatever.
Doesn't
Right.
really have the pull that you should have for a flag or a pennant. But the rotation zone, now, if this rotation zone continues to move up and widen out, all bets are off for any like negative reaction toward the end of September. We only got what, 3 days left? 2 days left?
No, tomorrow it's 30 days as September, April, June, and November. Remember the rhyme?
Right. But
Tomorrow
I'm
the
looking at
30th.
today being, oh shit. Okay. So it's only one day and an hour
Yes,
and
exactly.
a half an hour, I
Half an
should
hour.
say.
Right.
Yeah, one day and a half an hour. So September's going to finish positive. I mean, if I put this up as a monthly for the Qs, it's not turning around.
Yeah, it's not if it that would be a big deal if it turned
Yeah.
around tomorrow.
That would be a crash, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you look, this is up 4.8% for the month so far. If it turned around tomorrow and dropped 5%, we'd be talking crash, would we
Yeah,
not?
of course. If in a one-day move, that would something would have to have materially changed and everybody rushing to the exits at the same time. So
All
again,
right. So you mind if I bring something else up?
no, not at all.
All right. So we're talking about inflation being stubborn, and I kind of agree with you on that, right?
Okay.
And correct me anywhere that I'm misrepresenting you. I have a hard time finding persistent inflation with weak energy. This is crude oil. Now, I guess you could say this isn't really weak energy, right? It's just kind of sideways energy prices, which could break out in either direction.
Yeah.
This particular sell off that we got today, 3.82%. This is WTI futures for those of you that don't know. This particular sell off that we got today, this 3.8% sell off is on two things. Number one, an Iraqi pipeline that has been shut down for 2.5 years is pumping oil again. Don't ask me why it was shut down for that long. I don't know. I didn't look into it. And
But the
also,
bigger
there's more
story is
conversation about OPEC Plus
right.
increasing production again.
Oh, I thought something was there was a Trump talked to some about Hamas, Israel trying to negotiate that peace. You don't have that as any part of the break today?
I don't, but I guess it could have been.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
guess
interesting.
it's
The increasing
entirely
production part of
possible.
it more so.
When
But
I looked at it this morning, I went to some of my normal sources and they said, yeah, there's all this talk again about them adjusting production to the upside. And then also that Iraqi pipeline, it's big. It's a lot of crude. Consider it about 350,000 barrels a day coming
wow.
through that pipeline.
Okay, so here, can I share some thoughts here and then
Yeah,
share some
please.
thoughts on the chart as well? But at first is like, I think the crude story that you brought up is the greatest story that's not being told about as much. Because yes, you are correct. Persistent inflation seems to have need an exogenous force. In 2020, it was supply chains locking down. And now to me, it's not, there's no shock there, and there's certainly not no shock coming out of crude. And I know that everyone that Keynes and I mean not Keynes, Friedman, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, and I guess that is true to a certain extent, but it did seem to be pushed along quite a bit by some exogenous forces that kind of kickstarted it. I think there's no exogenous force kickstarting it now. As a matter of fact, I think AI and some of the supply side solutions that Trump is at least advocating for are headwinds to inflation, not tailwinds. But this is a big deal to me. Now, technically, I would have thought, independent of today's bar, that looked excellent to me. Like starting, get rid of the
Grinding.
last
I
bar.
agree.
Oh, yeah, all of a sudden the 8 was separating from the 21, we went above the 50 and the 200, but all of a sudden just one day reverses the whole thing. Where do you sell it now? What has to happen?
Well, again, you can go back, you can look at this chart and see the last time I had a crude oil position, right? You can probably guess it was somewhere in here.
Okay.
Okay, June 10th. Now I want to say that I bought this, but I didn't buy that. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you guys
Yeah.
about this, but I made some money right in here, but that's about it. And now this to me typically looks like you got a spike here, you got a break here. That's what happens with crude oil. But this typically looks like one of those times. I've said this a million times. I actually said it when I was speaking in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. Crude oil has a characteristic. It moves sideways within a massive range until you get a supply shock or a demand spike. And usually supply shocks are the one that cause the rallies. We don't get a lot of demand. Um, by the way, supply shocks usually to the upside, right?
Yeah.
Usually when you're getting excess supply, it's kind of slowly being piled into the market. It's not something all of a sudden somebody comes in 1.1 million barrels. It doesn't happen that way, right?
Right.
Um, or we get some sort of demand interruption, which also can cause a big drop as we got here. This was, I believe, war related, but I'm not positive about that. And now we're in one of those sideways consolidation patterns that we get in crude oil. You can see another one here, right? Where it's just supply and demand is balanced. Now, again, this is crude oil futures. Balanced is, it's like calling me tall. I mean, I'm taller than you, but I'm not tall.
That is unproven. It makes not there's nobody
Go ahead and
who's
pull the picture up
verified
again.
that.
I have it handy. You know I have it handy. All right, fair enough. That was a cheap shot.
Yeah.
But it basically, like, supply and demand is that the type of equilibrium that crude oil can accept. All right.
Right.
So I don't have a short. If you ask me where I would short, it would be a Brit, which you did. I just kept on talking without
Yeah.
actually answering your question.
So you
It
should
would
run
be
for office.
below here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a break, retest, and another drop,
Okay.
just like I usually do,
Yeah,
because it
that's
would
a
be
real
breaking
answer from
out
you, and
of,
you're consistent with it.
yeah, it'd be breaking out of the sideways channel, right?
Yeah.
Which has been going on for a while, and it would be testing the entry. So we got breaks of it here. We got another break of it here. Got another break of it here, but no follow through and no
No
retest.
follow through. Right. So tell me
Right.
this is when Donald Trump took office, I know the market kind of viewed him as a drill baby drill president. But you can't make people drill if the
No.
price is not an attractive level for them to drill. Have things been put in place to increase our production going forward, or is that just kind of loose talk?
I don't think so,
I don't
because,
think
and
so
we've
either.
talked about this. Some of our guests have mentioned it. Doomberg's mentioned it a lot on his Substack. You got to hit the regulations now.
Yeah.
You have to hit the regulations. I mean, I know somebody who owns part of a mine in California that is proven geologically to have tons of tungsten, but nobody wants to deal with California. So nobody is allowing them to go to market with their tungsten and actually, bring it to market and actually solve one of our problems in terms of rare earths,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing with crude oil.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many. By the way, if anybody out there is watching and you have any contacts with any of the notable scientists that are now starting to roll back humans causing climate change, please reach out to us. We'll do a special show for that person, because that's part of it,
No doubt.
right? Part of it is rich people don't want wells on their beachfront property,
Yeah. Damn right
right?
it
The other
is.
part
Right.
of it is the damage, the supposed damage that water used for fracking does, and it does do some, and I'll give you that. But it's the regulations now. It's not the desire to drill, and it's not the money. The fracking companies are rich with cash again.
Yeah. By the way, that's one of the reasons that empires fall over time is bureaucratic mess and nightmares and red tape and regulation. And we see it all the time. I own a restaurant in Chicago, Brant's of Palatine. The regulations they come at us for is just absolutely
Man.
amazing. There's another metal I want to talk about, and it's not gold, surprising. So quietly, platinum's up 75% this year. Platinum is dealing with a couple different things. One is the substitution thing. In the Chinese, the jewelry, it was the demand for platinum over gold was up like 30% in Q1. The mines, South Africa provides 50% of the world's copper production. I mean, platinum production. Some of those mines went down. Look at that. I mean, it's been on a one way tear.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but 1 year ago at the New Orleans Investment Conference, which I'm actually speaking at again on November 3rd and 4th, the speech was entitled The Case for the Platinum Metals Group. Actually, probably was technically called The Case for Palladium, but anyone who listened to the speech knows that it was platinum, palladium, and rhodium is what I talked about. And platinum's done pretty well so far. What do we think here? He's got to go back and retest that line?
Yeah. I mean, it's from a trader's perspective, I can't do anything with this. I really
Yeah.
can't. There's some short-term stuff I can do, but here's something that's interesting. The weekly is stretched and the monthly is stretched.
Right.
Now, that does not mean it's going to pull back at all. It just means that people who already own it, they're good.
Yeah.
And it's something I have to stay away from. If you're trying to get into the platinum markets, there's equity ways to play that.
Yeah.
Right. You know a
Well,
couple of them, don't you?
I've been long the platinum ETF for forever, and
Yeah.
again, I love futures, but if something I just want to throw into account and never have to worry about rolling, I will do the ETFs. And I'm fairly long in my they're too stupid to have good stewardship of the dollar portfolio, which is gold, silver, platinum, real estate, and Bitcoin. Yeah.
What just before we go on with the subject a little bit more, tell people about the New Orleans conference, how they can get tickets if they want to go, what
Oh,
you're
sure.
speaking
Yeah.
about, the
I will
panel
post it
you're
a
on.
couple times on my Twitter. And by the way, the star panel of the whole event was going don't even forget the fact that I'm on it, but it's Jim Bianco, crazy Professor David Collum, Professor, what's St. Ange? Peter St. Ange, right?
Yeah, Peter St.
Peter
Ange.
St. Ange, who you guys have seen his videos a million times. They get like a million views every time he puts one out, and myself. So that's a 4-man panel that will have an hour. Anything with Dave Collum to me is worth the price of admission just to be there. He says crazy things, and it is a ton of fun. And then I give a keynote. I think the morning of the 4th. I think both of my events are on the 4th.
Hmm.
But mine is about. It's going to be about hard money and the time of an easy Fed is the title of the speech. And it's going to be more broad. Over the last 5 years, I've given speeches about case for gold, case for silver, case for copper. It's only worked kind
You've
of,
been right.
and the case for the platinum metals group. Yeah, I've been right, because the entire thesis is that we have boneheads who will spend up until the moment that the bond market tells them they cannot spend. We've seen this play out time and time again in many different countries. The latest time it happened was when the bond market fired Liz Truss from being prime minister of the UK or England, whatever we call it. How many years ago was that? 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So when the election came around in November, and you tell me if you think I'm crazy, I thought I voted for Donald Trump and would again tomorrow. I thought Donald Trump was about 60% likely to lead us into a currency or debt market crisis is probably the wrong word. Let's call it a kerfuffle. But I thought the other side was about 95% likely to lead us into a problem. So I never thought that Donald Trump was a panacea. I just went with game theory, the odds, panacea for financial markets, particularly currencies and bonds. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, tell me the thesis again, because I
He
got
spends
lost
like a
in this.
drunken monkey.
What's that?
Donald Trump spends money like a drunken sailor. I want to put
Yeah,
something
okay.
else in
So
besides
I was
sailor.
I didn't want to go off on a tangent if it's not what you meant. I want to put this up while I'm talking really quick.
Yeah, no, I thought that
This is
the
it,
other
right?
side was terrible for our currency and our bonds, and Donald Trump is only just mildly bad.
There's a couple of things. I'm just putting this up so people can get a quick look at it. There's a
Yeah.
couple of things that Trump's been very disappointing on. We're not talking about Epstein on this show.
Yeah.
Not this week.
No.
We'll do it in another week. He's been very disappointing on the spending side of things. And it was interesting to me, like the tariff money that's coming in is not being calculated by the CBO into some of the spending excesses. But even when it's counted, we're still up slightly on the spending side of things.
Yep.
All the talk about Doge and all that stuff, it drives me crazy that stuff is kind of going nowhere from the spending side.
Yep. Me too.
I voted for Donald Trump as well, and that's where most of my buyer's remorse comes from. I shouldn't even say that. I don't have buyer's remorse. I would vote for him again today,
Yeah.
given the kind of system we have and given what it looks like. But the spending side of it has really, really, really bothered me.
Yeah.
The focus on immigration has been great. The focus on lawlessness has been great. The release of the files has not been great.
No.
And the spending has been abysmal. I
Agreed.
think the biggest success is Maha right now so far,
Yeah.
Make America Healthy Again. But the spending side, it's an absolute cancer that you can't solve by having the economy eat meat. I don't think that worked. Do you think that worked?
It could have worked. Well, you rework that, and when
It's
we go
still,
live, oh, we are live already. Okay.
yeah, we're live now. It is an absolute cancer that's going to continue to crush this
Of course it is.
economy. And you can't tell me the next administration is the one that's going to do it. And you got to tell me that Trump is going to win in a landslide in 2020. Was it 2028?
It's 2028. Yeah.
20, no, not 2028.
Yes.
2026 with congressional leaders.
Oh, yeah.
He's
yeah,
got
right.
to keep Congress in 2028, and then he's got to cut spending then. That's the only hope for those of us that have to make excuses to our friends that he did not cut spending. He
Yeah.
should have.
And
Should
I'll
have
tell
cut
you this is
something.
that you guys, if there's some people watching this show who aren't really into the finance and markets and the bond market, you can think that we're these one issue voters, and to some extent we are. But I will tell you this, and this is completely unqualified. If you have a currency crisis or a bond crisis, it will make all those other fringe policies or issues seem terribly small. What's
Yeah.
happening, by the way? Is someone trying to break into your house, Bobby, or no?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, what is it?
It's my dog dreaming, but her feet are up against the baseboard of the office. They're
I
just kind of
love
kicking at the baseboards. Oh, believe me, if someone were trying to break in, you'd see a completely different look on my face. That's
That's
for
what I
sure.
thought. I thought
You'd
maybe
see
you
the brick
trusted
wall and nothing else.
you trusted your dog so much, like, oh, the mutts will take care of it.
No, it is really, it's disappointing as a Trump voter. And that's the thing that's disappointing, not the other stuff.
Yeah.
And all these people are like, there was a poll that came out the other day that showed that Republicans have lost a tiny bit of their lead on the economy versus Democrats, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Their lead on immigration is almost the same. Their lead on crime fighting is way higher.
Yeah, of course.
And Trump's approval ratings are not great, but it doesn't really matter.
Well,
When you talk about the Democrats ran on saving our democracy, nobody cares. You have to go out and pay your bills. A lot of people have to decide which bill they're paying this week.
yeah.
And these polls show that 2026 is looking to be another landslide if it stays like this. And I hate this idea that the spending cuts have kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of when they're going to come. It drives me crazy.
Nobody's talking about them. And one thing that I've noticed too is that I've been very vocal criticizing several of the things of Donald Trump. And by the way, like, I agree with the shutting down the border cold. We always had the power to do that, and we didn't do it. I am not 100% sold on any sort of mass deportation for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is from a game theory standpoint, it creates an optic that's very usable for the Democrats against the Republicans and make them look like they're cruel and heartless, which they do. You disagree with me thinking that that could be a problem?
Well, say more, because
So some of
you
this,
saying like tugging at the heartstrings of independent voters?
yeah, exactly, and being able to make these videos of people taking poor, because again, some good people are going to get tossed out with the bad in the search of the bad MS-13 gang members. I want anyone who's a gang member, who's a criminal, who's committed any sort of violent crime at all. But everybody who will argue with me will say, well, every one of them's committed a crime because they came in. That is technically true, but that is nuanced because for 4 years, they were encouraged to come in by the lawmakers of this country. They said, literally, Joe Biden, who was the president, said, I want to encourage them to storm the border because that's just who we are. I will tell you this, it's not who I am, but apparently it was who Joe Biden is. But the mass deportation part of it, I think, could get clumsy and ugly and politically be a little bit of a shot in the foot.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of a nuanced take on that. I think economically it's tricky, right? Because
Sure.
you're taking away a large part of the workforce, and they're definitely doing that. I mean, it's just you're starting to see it in the thing that comes out in the non-farm payrolls report. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah.
What is it when people they count the amount of people looking for work? Why is that escaping me right now?
Participation rate.
Yeah, participation rate. You're seeing it there. Wow. The second part of it is that this idea that AI is going to quickly be able to lower the amount of workers needed in time to make up for those workers, that's very tricky. Now, your question was out the political side of it. I'll go back to the poll I just mentioned. It's not working yet. It's not, because Republicans have actually increased their lead on who
On
handles
immigration.
immigration
Okay.
better.
Yeah.
So, but I may be, I may be wrong. You are a business owner and you have had problems from COVID on finding employees, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't hire anyone that isn't documented.
Clearly not.
Um, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's going to cause a problem for someone like you as a small business owner. For me, I have people saying to me, "Well, who's going to pick your fruit and mow your lawn?" I ain't pick my fruit, and I can mow my lawn. Like I don't
I
give a
don't eat a
shit
lot of
about
fruit
that.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'd love to mow my lawn. Actually, they don't let us here. It's the weirdest thing. We're not allowed to mow our lawns in these little weird Florida communities that
Really?
I don't hate.
That's
I,
funny.
I don't hate it at all. Widge has got another comment. Disappointing on spending, disappointing on Doge, disappointing on corporate takeovers. Not sure if I agree with that. Disappointing on Fed policy, agree. Disappointing on sovereign wealth, agree. But damn right, we'd vote for him again.
No, and that's just again, I always I told everybody, Bobby and I've been accused of being MAGA for several years. It's give me an alternative. There was absolutely no alternative. It was silly. And then they're like, what about the primary? I didn't vote for Donald Trump in the primary. But again, I would have crawled over glass to vote for Donald Trump in the general. And I will
Yeah.
say that 1,000 times. There was
Yeah.
I've never for 1 second thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have voted for him. For what? To vote for Kamala Harris, who didn't even look like she knew what was even going on. I don't even understand the discussion really. By the way, can we hit
Yeah.
one
I
more
don't know.
market?
I
Can we
mean,
hit gold?
look,
Hmm?
it's funny because people can easily change their mind about who they voted for when they look at what they're doing once they get into office.
Yeah,
That's the one place where I think Trump has fallen short. And it may be a strategy.
yeah.
I don't think he's cut enough regulations yet. Maybe I'm not
Same.
seeing them. And I don't think that well, I know that he hasn't cut spending. And again, those two things he might be waiting for the next election for the midterms.
Right. And
It's
the reason I want to look
possible
at
that that's what he's doing.
right, the reason I want to look at gold because it is directly connected to this ridiculous spending issues, and I believe that gold is reflecting two things. The global part of it is that foreign central banks are starting to get a little leery about the United States, particularly it started with the with Russia and Ukraine and us freezing them out of the SWIFT payment system, et cetera, and Donald Trump's trade issues, but more importantly, the goddamn spending, which is going through the roof. And that I think is making people go like, I want to be out of this system. And they're buying gold and they're buying Bitcoin. I understand that Bitcoin's had a little bit of a slog the last couple of weeks, but it seems today that it may be breaking out. But let's look at the chart of gold and see. And again, you guys know I'm long up to my eyeballs in gold.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Again, it'll take me a minute to put it up. But while I'm putting this up, let me ask you something.
Shoot.
Just in a sort of different direction. What, like, where do you think? So I saw a video of a young woman this morning who was complaining that she was going to lose her job at Starbucks in California because Starbucks was closing stores. Okay. Starbucks is closing stores. And she said, three of the four, this is the part that makes me laugh, and you're a restaurant owner. Three of the four Starbucks within a 2 mile radius are closing. There was a comedian once who cracked a joke. He goes, "Yeah, they're opening a Starbucks here in the bathroom of another Starbucks." I thought that was hysterical.
Ron
Do
White
you?
does a bit too. Like, and finally, I walked out of one Starbucks across the street into another Starbucks. He always talks about that.
That was if you ever saw the movie Best in Show. That was 90% of the movie was ad libbed, so it's really good. You can see who's really good at ad lib and who isn't. But that it was Parker Posey, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. They were talking. They were supposed to be the yuppie couple going to the dog show to show their Weimaraner, and they were talking about how they met. She saw him going into Starbucks across the street from her Starbucks,
I
and
was
that's how they
sitting
met.
at
It
a
was a whole big
Starbucks.
joke thing.
That's pretty
So
funny.
I guess I'm asking you, number one, should we have any sort of empathy for a young person losing their job like we never lost jobs before?
Yeah,
Or
no,
are we
but
supposed
to
to
answer your
feel for
question,
them because it's a tough market? I don't
but
know
of
what to
course the
feel.
answer is yes. I have empathy for every individual, and particularly like I have even almost more empathy for her is if she's losing her job because of just completely onerous regulatory minimum wage, all the California things that we know to be bad. And if she voted for those and then is losing her job, everyone else is going to look at her hateful. I look at her with pity, because I want to educate her. She does not want to be educated, by the way. I guarantee
No.
this Starbucks barista with the purple hair thinks I'm the devil. I just want it to be clear that I don't think she's the devil. I think she was just
Mhm.
misguided along the way. But should we be surprised, which is the bigger question regarding losing your job at Starbucks? Hell no. Of course, you're going to lose your job at Starbucks. There's too many of them. And in California, particularly, they're making it too hard to make a buck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of the way she worded it was what bothered me the
She was
most.
annoying to you, right?
Yeah, it was annoying because it was one of those things where she said, and you guys don't understand. I'm losing my job. It's the only job. It pays my bills. It pays for my food.
Yeah,
And
been
as she
there.
was doing it, I just kept thinking, do you think you're the only one who's ever lost a job?
Yeah.
And she's an artist. So this was the job that paid her bills.
Boy.
And then she does
Oh,
her art. And it's like, okay, look, I got no problem with that.
yeah.
But if the company decides to close stores because they don't work, the majority, they're closing stores everywhere, but I think the majority of them are in California. You could say it's because of California's owners' regulations and corporate taxes and all that, or it could be because California is bigger. So
Yeah.
they have more stores there.
Right.
But California also has a ton of competition. And there was about a year and a half ago a walkout at a Starbucks because the employees were trying to unionize. And, it was like, what do you guys think is going to happen? But I guess you're right. I mean, she's a young kid. She's losing her job. I guess I
It's our
feel
job
bad.
to educate. By the way, I gave you said she was an artist. I gave a speech at a local high school. I was asked to appear there. It's probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And it was to their Young Entrepreneurs Club. And it was a pretty packed house. It was like 500 people there. And I talked about, their entrepreneurs and this program they were all in. And I said, there's nothing wrong with a backup plan. I said, you should always, in our household, we have a saying, it's follow your dreams. Unless, of course, your dreams are stupid, then follow my dreams. By the way, in the audience, every one of the kids laughed and thought it was funny. Every one of the parents thought it wasn't funny at all. So yeah,
You know what this red line here is gold is
the
on this
200.
gold
Oh no,
chart?
you mean the horizontal one?
Horizontal red line.
It's orange, colorblind boy.
Oh, God, is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Pink. Fuchsia.
This is 2 days before you asked me if you should be selling gold or hedging it.
Yeah,
You asked me, I believe, here.
I
No, it
think you're
was,
right.
yeah, it was on a Wednesday on our live show. So
Wasting
right
money on
about
those hedges.
here. It was somewhere in this area.
Yeah.
And so this is me patting myself on the back a little bit, but
Yeah.
it is starting to get insane.
Yeah.
And the problem with it is we're coming again to the end of the seasonal weakness for gold. Gold
Right.
gets seasonally strong starting in about early November. So I would say that, yeah, now is the time to buy some puts and possibly even take some off the table. I've done that. But there's people out there. Oh, there's a Naples symposium. It's in November. I'm not sure when it is. And it is a Bitcoin focused symposium. And I'm going as the anti Bitcoin guy. Now, everybody that's watched the show knows I'm not anti Bitcoin, but I have more gold than I have Bitcoin. Am I in trouble?
No, no, I think you're going to be good because you're going to say it that way too. When I spoke at the Bitcoin conference, the big one in Austin,
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I'm not one of you guys. I don't even understand what the hell Bitcoin is. But here's where we have some connections." And I talked about stewardship of currency, of course, because I'm a one-trick pony.
Well, if your one trick makes sense, why do you got to change the
Go with
trick?
that trick.
Especially when your one trick is a lot of what's affecting things that are going on.
Amen. Yes. And I
Here's the
appreciate it.
Bitcoin chart. We got through my buy level. So, Jimmy, this is a great example of the weakness held here against the line, right? On the upside, I never got the pullback where it held until here, and then
Yeah.
it didn't really hold.
Right.
So I didn't get back into Bitcoin. I'll see what happens in this area now, but this level is starting to weaken with all this activity through it.
And that you think the chart is as long as it can consolidate above all the lines, perhaps get them in order, then it's shaping up to have a bullish move, correct?
It is shaping up to have one, but this looks similar, oddly similar to the crude oil chart to me.
Interesting, interesting. All
Yeah.
right, let's wrap it.
One last question I have for you.
Shoot.
You've looked at the dollar as long as I have, and you're a student of history like I am. I'm going to put up the dollar index, even though I don't really like that
Yeah, it's because
particular thing.
and
Just
if you
going to put
guys
it
are
up.
what Bobby means is that it's somewhat of a flawed index. It's basically against the
It
euro
really
and the yen.
is. Ignore all these lines above. They were from prior analysis that I did. But
Right.
when when the dollar was tied to gold pre-Nixon and the release of the gold standard, right?
Mhm.
Or the dollar fluctuated, did it not?
Yeah, sure.
It was not stagnant in one point.
No.
So what's the argument there with Bitcoin? When people say Bitcoin is going to be the currency, it's going to replace the dollar, is it that it's global, or is it that those people have no idea what's in store for them when Bitcoin, if Bitcoin becomes the reserve currency of the world?
Okay, so the first part of that whole thing is that we are looking at a chart of the dollar. It's not
Yes, we
really a
are.
chart of the strength of the dollar. It's the chart of the dollar against a specific basket of currencies, 70% of which of that is the euro and the
The
yen.
euro, right?
Every one of those countries are doing the same idiotic nonsense tomfoolery. I love being an old man and saying tomfoolery. Tomfoolery that our central bank is. So all this chart is telling me is what is the grade of our policies against the world right now. And again, there's a lot more to it than that too, but that's a base part of it. In reality, if we had an actual dollar chart, and that's the dollar against things you actually want to trade it for, I don't know a lot of
Right,
people out there going, shit, I can't afford as much yen anymore, but they do want to buy eggs and meat and butter and
right.
beer and those things. And the dollar has been cratering. The dollar has been losing steam. So when you look at Bitcoin and when you look at gold, I think they are absolutely a no confidence vote in stewardship fiat currency. That's what they're saying to you. They're saying this is ridiculous. They're going to keep devaluing our currency, so we got to get into something this. And by the way, I'm not saying I think Bitcoin is the answer. I do
No,
think
I
a
know.
combination of Bitcoin,
I'm
gold,
trying to,
silver,
I'm
real
sort of
estate.
trying to play around with the whole, it's going to be the reserve currency of the world. The dollar's going to go away. Fiat's going to go away. Does that mean that because Bitcoin is of limited supply, it can't fluctuate? I
No,
don't
I mean,
believe that's the
fluctuates a
case.
ton as we see. Particularly, how long does it take for something to get its bearings as something that's so rooted it becomes a stable global currency? The answer to that is decades and decades. And we're
Yeah.
only 14 years into this whole Bitcoin experiment. And believe me, it is still an experiment. And what I would say to it also is that we've said this before. In 10 years, will Bitcoin be a million or a zero or a dollar, $2?
Yeah.
I actually think it's slightly more likely the dollar or $2. If it's not, if it really is going to a million and it's going to succeed, I do not want to be left on the sidelines because that will be kind of a scary world when you're losing your purchasing power in most everything else. And by the way, that's going to be one of the themes at the New Orleans Investment Conference for me is that every time I've stood on this stage before, I'm practicing on you guys, I've talked about how to position yourself to gain wealth. Well, that's only half the equation anymore. Now the question becomes, how do we position ourselves to not lose all of our purchasing power and to stay out of the poorhouse? Because now it's a
Right.
different paradigm. You like it?
I love it.
Good.
Again, that's November 2nd to the 5th, right?
That is correct.
You
I'll
guys
be
can go to
speaking
the
both my
website, New
times on the
Orleans
5th.
Investment Conference.
Yes, oldest one in the world. All
Cool.
right, I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap. Thank you guys
All
so
right,
much
buddy.
for joining us. Again, the comments you guys give us are wonderful. Thanks for everyone who participated. I'm
Real quick,
sorry I led
Jimmy,
people
if you
astray
guys
on.
don't know our Wednesday live show, we got Brian Westbury, so you guys
Oh
might want
yeah,
to check that out.
yeah. Tomorrow or Wednesday, or no,
Wednesday.
that's 2 days from now. Wednesday live show that is at 4 p.m. Eastern time live on the Tradier Hub. That we're gonna have Brian Westbury. Love him. He's one of the best economists in the world, in my opinion. This has been Futures Edge. I'm Jim Iuorio. That's Bob Iaccino. Also, please join us at unfilteredinvestor.com. Anyway, is Haley feeding the baby?
I
You
think
people are
we're
watching. We're
definitely
still live.
still live here.
It means our producer's feeding the baby.
Yeah, we're still live. It's great.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, any more
What'd you think of
questions?
the Bears game? Did
What's that?
you see the Bears game?
Did you see the play where Caleb Williams was running for his
I'm gone.
life, who didn't catch it? Did you see that play?
Yeah, I did.
That was one of the best quarterback maneuvers and throws I've seen in years. I felt so bad. I thought Cole had a terrible game. And around here, we call him Cole. He's from our hometown and everybody knows him. I don't know him actually, but he's from here. And I hate that he had such a terrible game, but he drops. I thought Caleb Williams played great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haley said she's here, but she's having internet problems. Let me see. I'm trying to end it, but it won't let me. Well, we
Yeah.
can just close this and walk away, and it'll just be a blank screen.
He's blank screen. Okay, see
All
you
right.
guys. Have a great night. See you, Bobby.
See you, buddy.